Hello, cardiophagistic people, wherever you're coming from. Thank you very much. Let me put my stuff very meticulous so as you can just commence this kind of the video from wherever you are. Hello internet, I come to you live, which is one-on-one, and I say thank you very much for you being tuned, locked in. 9,000 subscribers we are in, and we are going to be heading to 10,000 subscribers. That's where we are roaming to. If you're the first time you watching this kind of the videos and also antagonizing with this kind of the video, keep on subscribing, liking and sharing, as we're going to be making it happening, because as far as everything is put in conscience and put in a good titulation, everything goes well kaboom netted here. So back to the regime, and I'm at my fish ponds here. The zone is very nice. The climate is very cool, and it's not more worse as you talk about it's going to be in a swampy area. No, I think the climate is climatizing, very nice, and water is now nurturing, and water is so full. And to the fish ponds, it's been raining, and I talk about this time it's a very cold season, and at some point I understand, and here in talk about Nyamboanse specifically, we are very nice and everything is moving so fantastic. I saw people talking about Gintu. We have seen you have just sold your land, or you have sold the fish pond to the people. I'm just my neighbors here. Talk about they have just already bought this kind of the land that is having some maize from that kind of the far end, and that's where they have just extended. Talk about that perimeter wall going to be squeezed to this kind of the far point, and that's why they have just bought. But this kind of the fish pond are not sold to anyone, because they were in a best target, and people are talking about, oh, we're going to be buying the whole of this kind of the riverbank for the people who are just around here, but not to Gintu, because nobody can buy my asset, which is just something that I understand. I've struggled for it. That's why you see the fencing going to be tangling, and we have just left for this kind of the poles to dry up, and because they were coated also with the old diesel engine oil, and right now they are now good, and so I talk about they are compacted good, and they are now strong enough from contracted. Talk about the contact between the soil and the ballast and also the tree. They were just bonded together to make sure going to be so firm enough in terms of hitting the fence. It's going to not have any kind of the post-quam skirting there. So what I'm going to be talking about is everybody has been lowered and talking about, oh, Gintu, how is everything? Everything's just running good. Whoever want to be buying some of the lands can just buy, because what I said is also I've seen still Murimi family selling much of the land, and we talk about that is the movement. If somebody can see this is what you're going to be doing, that is the best. But to this kind of the position I am, this kind of the zone is not sold to anyone, because I'm fencing it to have my own restriction and making sure that the fish ponds are so safe and everything is getting good here. So as far as I've already put this kind of the poles to inside and I've been concreted, I talk about it is so fantastic, because the stealing, it will be just minimized, and also the way I had not even concreted them to the soil. That's the point now. People are going to be taking the advantage, and they were coming to hinder this kind of the asset are going to be having here and bringing much of the shenanigans to this kind of the position here. So also this week going to be coming, it will be the court cases week, and I've seen much of the court with talk about Mr. Matiko. I'm going to be getting back to the court, which is on 3rd, and also going to be getting there on 6th. We're going to be coming to this kind of the week. So keep it tuned, keep it locked, because much of the things going to be coming to you live, which is one-on-one. Understand much of the people are talking about, oh, Gintu, it's going to be coming her ABCD, and a little bit that time I was using a lot of money, and a lot of money has been going this kind of the things ABCD. You have to understand how the things going to be getting. For the people understand the court sessions, understand whatever going to be popping out, they know what I mean at this kind of the time. And also I'm going to be speaking this kind of from my own heart and talking about for the people tuned in at this kind of the start of the video, I say congratulations and pinpoint the match of the pointants, and also let's get forward from this position here. Keep it tuned. I'm going to be now getting around to understand what is really popping out from this kind of the position here, as we have already got a little bit of time and we have not yet come to see what is now trending onto this riverside here. So what I'm talking about is the plot that has been sold. It's there. I talk about those kind of the maize where they're coming from, and also the upper section, it's already sold. This kind of the maize which is looking so dark here, it has already been sold, and the only portion that it's surviving here, it's Ginto, because people are targeting and talking about, oh, Ginto, people are targeting your fish ponds A, B, C, D. They have done talk about things which are not good, and also trespassing and talking about, oh, in Africa we can trespass from each kind of the point and do whatever is necessary. So I'm going to be sealing my land to make sure that nobody has any kind of the intrusion, and talk about, oh, you understand, it's in the village and things going to be getting post-quama rights here. So talk about this kind of the poles are now strong enough. Even if you shake them, they're so strong, and now the fence pole can just get on. If you're going to be removing, you can just only remove it the way it is here. There's one thing that we're going to be speaking at this kind of the moment, and it's one of the things that are bringing some of the shenanigans still up to this kind of the point, and I'm going to be revealing it right now here, and I'm going to be talking it. So many people in this kind of the village, they are doing something called liquor. They're producing liquor in terms of fractional distillation, and for the people who learned about chemistry, they understand fractional distillation, which is the traditional method that people are using in terms of getting liquor, or a production of liquor, which is manually done. And I said it, to this kind of the time, still the production of liquor is done with so many chemicals which are toxic to our bodies, which is not reflecting the traditional liquor which was made during our ancestral grandfathers behind them. Because right now people are going to be producing liquor, and they use this kind of the round poles, because the round poles, you understand, for the fractional distillation, you understand there must be a lot of heat produced, so as it can burn that combination of the fermented liquor brew, and a little bit is a mixture of water, mixture of fermented maize, a mixture of fried, how can I call it, grilled or fried, something like that one, maize, which is a little bit having something called makongo here, and also some brown sugar, and they are now formulated together. So right now they're using something called formalin, which is used in terms of the mogs, and you understand when I talk about the formalin. And also they are using something called CAN. Talk about the fertilizer, CAN, calcium ammonium nitrate. They are using it in the formulation and also the production of liquor. Right now, so many people are now becoming blind. So many people are dying slowly, which is an injection. It's like a Cold War that was brought. Even this kind of the liquor production is brought with this kind of the essential. And I was talking about the production of brown sugar is part of the team. You understand who is producing brown sugar to this kind of the village, and the same people are declining, taking about Matiko. Matiko, you should not drink, or they have taken everything from Matiko, and talking about, oh, you don't deserve this kind of the things because you liquor. And what I'm going to be talking about, the same family which is taking everything from them, they're the ones who are producing brown sugar, which is used in terms of the brewing industries to come up this kind of the liquor which much of the boys have subjected themselves into. This is a government. It's like a political driven a government, whereby a village is driven with quagmires, a village is driven with hula baloos, is driven with talk about the Osmoron people. And also this kind of the things. You have seen so many boys, young boys, they have been formulated and have been told about, oh, you will be my bouncer, you will be amongst my team, and I like to see you very close to me, and I want to be doing ABCD unto you. At long last, what they are targeting is to make sure that they are liquoring very properly, and they have put them onto that, whereby they know you cannot drive yourself out of that spot you are. And that is the means that we are driving ourselves as the young teenagers, the young generation into, and you can never get out, because whenever you say A, they talk about B. This is some money you are just thrown into, and you are told go and drink, and you will come back. Look at how Murimi was told. Murimi was given 200 and he was told go and liquor, and whenever you come back now, we will continue with much of the job. When he went to liquor, that's the point now they took the wife out of Murimi. And talk about again to Matiko, when they talk about the production of liquor, they're the people who gave him the motorbike, and Matiko himself was the one who was transporting the brown sugar from the farm to from the producer to the consumers direct. And he understood whenever you go with this kind of the brown sugar, you have to sit and talk about people are already congested there. You talk about, can I test a little bit to hear how you have produced it? And some people are talking about, oh, why are you liquoring that? The same people who are luring this kind of the people onto it. And again, they come at the back to backstab them and talk about we don't want it to happen the way it is. Yet they are lying to their sponsors like this boy has not yet got out of the liquor, which is not prompted unto them to do, which is the largest and the stupidest thing that people have been lured into, and we cannot see it, because where is the generation that you're going to be speaking going to be coming tomorrow? Everybody's talking about why are they into terms of okay, when you see the people who are just using this kind of the boys, they have already gone up to 30s years there. They are in 30 years. And the people who are just been lured into it, they're the same 30s, because the 30 group, they're the people like Murimi, they are 30s. Talk about Matiko, they are 30 to 30 something there. And whenever they're now subjected to this liquor, and we depend on them to make sure they're going to be voting well, they're going to be knowing which kind of a politician they're going to be voting to. We need a good development. How are they going to vote for a person? They will be lured also with this kind of the liquor whenever it comes also to the political rallies and also voting for the election that are going to be coming. When we talk about we have a bad governance, and also the people are going to be shouting, oh, bad governance, and they are being lured with this kind of the small things like liquor and dropped onto this segmentation of stupidity, and they talk about all the bad governance, the bad governments, whereby we, the people who selected them, talking about they have given us better. I give a person who has given me, because I will not be given whenever they will be in, than a person who will go without giving me, and they will not again give me, because they don't understand the real strategy which is being driven outside here, which is they think about whatever person can give you today reflects tomorrow, which will reflect whenever it comes to the serious matters. Like a person can give you 200, like the way Devi gave Murimi 200 Kenya shillings, go and liquor. And already he went and I asked him, when you went with that kind of the 200, did you identify like you had left the wife at home? What did you leave at home? He talked about, oh, you know, even my wife was given the money. Meaning like them, and even sometimes education, even fools grow old. You have to understand it. Huh? And to the ladies, also, I've seen not much segmented ladies. Ladies have been used in the back, and they've been put in the platform of talk about the conjugations and the early sex and this kind of the time. And also they've been into the production of videos, making sure going to be entertaining people of abroad and talking about they're just doing something which is confidentially to the growth of the economy of Kenya, which is something which people going to be talking about. You're going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing this. No, I cannot do this, which is luring us into a very hyper way of not understanding where even our ladies going to be getting. Because we need to marry. People need to marry. We need good wives, good people who will be supportive. The families need people. you understand what is always roaming outside here is whereby the ladies, they grow and talk about, yeah, you know, I'm not assembled at this kind of the position, or I'm not assembled at this kind of the formula I'm talking about, or they're coming from, or I am assembled from where I will be married. That's where I will assemble myself. Not understanding the background, you have just left home, and the person who gave birth to you, they need to see the best from you, which is luring us into the backstage. And when we talk about the molestation also, we have seen so many molestations that happened, and people are going to be talking about, oh, Gintu is very bad, is exposing this kind of the molestations and the ABCD, which is giving them much of the traumatized, and even getting front and talk about, you're going to be arresting Gintu because he has been in the frontier, talk about the molestation that has been taking over. It's subsequently so stupid whenever it comes to this kind of the regime, and we have to stick to the point with that kind of the nature. Back to the sport. When I come back to the same scenario that are going to be handled at this kind of the area, we understand the good, as people are talking about the good people, they're going to be helping you, but they are having a bad and a different agenda, which is backfalling or backfailing some of the things that are going to be occupying at a different stage. And that's what you can just see from each and every kind of the time. What we understand is one, every time, whenever a good dancer understands the good time for him or her to leave the stage, and that is what you always have to understand, because we will never be talk about accusated, and also we should not be put in the hyper moment of talking about, oh, you should not be doing this, you should not be doing this, do as I say, which is luring us to talk about these people will just think about they're going to be staying to the same starring each and every kind of that point. Every time there's a person who will come and get you out of the point you are, you will never be there for the life, because some people are going to be growing, but if you are not subjected to the real a way of getting forward, we are being traumatized, we are being stressed, we are being arrested, we are being followed with the police, we are being chased east, west and south, east, west and south, east, west and south, and there's nothing can just be spoken. We are told, oh, the chief is behind the scene, the police officers, they're behind the scene, the police post is put under somebody's pocket, and there's nothing they can do to other people, because we have ever seen it being mishandling, and the people are being mishandled at each kind of the time. And that is what we want to fight and talk about. Let's be given the hope, let's be given the right and freedom for us to express ourselves. It's like now the government, whereby the politicians and the politics, people who are in the government, they don't want to get out of the government. They talk about, whenever there's something, they talk about abduction, they talk about extrajudicial killings, talk about we talk about people vanish and vanish in different circumstances where you cannot even understand, whereby they understand these people, whenever they raise their voices, they're going to be something that's going to be coming up. It's the same to this kind of the village. Whenever you try to raise the volume, they understand like there's something. If there's no abduction, here there's no abduction, number one. Number two, there's no extrajudicial killings, but there is arrest, and also there is a judgment in the cases. Talk about the court cases going to be handling you in a way like they want to siphon everything that you're going to be having. They want to see you very low, at the lower stage. And they talk about, oh, now we have just made it happen. At long last, what we understand, nobody will ever stick to the position for more and more and more years. Everything has its own time, and the time whenever it's going to be reaching, nobody should just think about you can just stay there. And even if the time and also the pinpointment has been told, Gent will be in this kind of the position, somebody else will be in this kind of the position, nobody can ever return it back, because it's already the time it has been set to be in that kind of the position. Still, we are claiming, and we are teaching much of the boys, the village boys, to behave normally, because whenever we are selling the lands, we are talking about, oh, and maybe today we will be dancing, we'll be shaking, talk about the nyashes going to be, oh, the nyashes going to be passing, whoa, 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 they're going to be booming here, and they're talking about, this is the meticulous point. I want to be now handling much of the matters, and I want to be using this kind of the plot money to get this kind of the lady very meticulous, and I want to handle her very negligently, and also caress her own emotions, and make sure that we're going to be arresting her own tonsils and also giving her what is the best medication, which is getting us to a lost momentum. Look at a good example is Murimi. Right now he's just lying to much of the people. I've not yet married. Murimi has already married, and he has a wife already, and Murimi right now is just checking the nyashes onto the house, and is so fantastically very motivated whenever he always see the nyashes are just already passing. And you understand that's the best momentum whenever you talk about here. This is talk about you have a good wife here and there. You understand this kind of the money of the plot. Sometimes a money of the plot. Let me tell much of the people to understand. A plot has a different momentum. The money of the plot is very sweet, and it's very sweet for that moment. And whenever now you see somebody cultivating your land and planting maize and becoming so healthy, you'll come to understand the aim of talking about, oh, now you start becoming eager. And also the hunger comes to your health and talk about, yeah, this kind of the people, they're going to be ABCD, I sold you the land, why do you want to add? You see how Moimi is behaving. He's talking about, yeah, whenever he was selling the land, he was telling them, whatever you need to the village, I'll give it to you. And whatever you need, I'll just act responsibly. He started bringing mayhem from the, talk about the family members, from the father's members, and to the whole community. Everybody was talking about Murimi, 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 It was a little bit of talking about Murimi was too much. And it was being used to talk about, can we arrest this? Can we do this? Can we do this at this kind of the time? To this postquam and the intercoms and the crinkums of the day, we talk about he has been used. This kind of the time, he's just talking about here, I've been dropped, everything. Right now, it doesn't be needed any kind of nearness to this kind of the people's projects. Why? Because talk about the contract has already died. And he has nothing to offer to them right now, because he has nothing to offer to the society right now. Because again, he's going to be selling, and I was telling him, he's going to be selling another land and talk about, I want to vacate from this kind of the land. He has already married and is now thinking about how the life going to be getting. And also, yesterday he was talking about, he was complaining, he was too liquor yesterday in Nyabohanse, and he was talking shagarabagal, helter-skelter. Talking whatever comes out. And he was talking about, yeah, I've recorded the congrats, Dad. And he was telling me nonsense. He was telling me that I never saw you with Halima. You could not go anywhere. Now you have got your wife. Now stick to your wife. And the real point is Murimi was just storing this kind of the lady, because she was in the target, and whatever they needed to do is to put this kind of the lady behind, so as people could not identify what was beneath, what could just be popping out, as things going to be running very meticulous there. But he never understood what was coming out. Back to the spot. Back to the fish farming. As you can see behind me here, we have fish ponds here. And this kind of the fish ponds already they are stocked with 1,000 fish per each fish pond. And I want to be teaching people today about the production of the fingerlings, from the production of the fingerlings and also the stocking of the fish. And from the stocking of the fish, we're going to be talking about the fast food stuffs and the FCH of this kind of the food you're going to be giving them, how it's going to be looking like, and the nutrients relevant at this kind of the food stuff. Back to the Esquire. Whoever going to be learning, and also I've seen my neighbors here, they have already bought a fish pond, and whenever they're going to be now understanding, they're going to be watching the videos to understand this kind of the production, how it is. And I'm so fantastic, because learning, nobody can get my learning all my skills and my knowledge from my head, because what I know and I teach you, don't think about will be ever be more than the person who taught you. It's only the opportunity opens and you get an opportunity, you be far away from how Gintu is, and Gintu taught you on how you could just make it. So back to the fish farm. Everybody should just get this and learn about it. The fish pond that I'm having here, it's measuring 300 meter square, which is a standard fish pond. As you can see it here, it's a standard fish pond, and it's a very big fish pond, which is having 1.20 meters depth, and also it's going to be stretched in a match like the depth of water should be high. And why do we talk about the fish pond should be 1.20 or 0.90 to 1.20 meters of height in terms of, or meters in terms of height, in terms of the water height, not the capacity. Here we don't measure the volume ratio of water. We measure the area covered with the fish pond. And if you're going to be measuring the volume ratio, surface area to volume ratio, the volume ratio requires the water. Talk about the volume of this kind of the fish pond. It's not calculated into that. We are calculating about the area exposed onto this kind of the fish pond, which is 300 meters square. And if it's the volume ratio, you can now calculate which is L times W times H to get the volume of the whole fish pond, whereby you can get this fish pond cannot, we cannot put here a lot of fish, or talk about you can segment here a lot of fish, more than 1,000. Why am I talking so? Talk about each fish pond require 3 fish per meter square, and they should not exceed 3 to 4. And if they exceed to 4, talk about the growth rate will be so low, which we need the space provided onto the fish pond to make sure you're going to be rearing the fish according to the meter square. 3 per meter square. That's why we talk about 300 meter square can hold about 1,000, which is 900, but you can put 1,000 because 100 fish is not much bigger whenever we talk about a whole thing like 1,000. So that's why you see we are emphasizing to have 1,000 fish stocked at the fish pond. Number 2, the volume ratio requires the more the depth. Talk about we cannot dig here the depth which is so high to have the volume ratio because of the security, a person, and also the harvesting. We don't have the equipment and tools that can just help us in terms of fishing in high depths, because the high depth require also a larger surface area, so as they can be depth and you can put a lot of fish, and also requires different tools and equipment. Like number 1, you need a boat, so as you can just go around. You need manpower to make sure that that kind of the fish pond, and also the capital to start that kind of the production of digging, and it requires a lot of money for you to do it, because this we are doing here is intensive agriculture, which is intensive aquaculture, whereby even the lowest person ever possible can do it. That is what we are emphasizing ourselves, and also luring people who are in need, who need to venture into agriculture, can do it as the best. That is what we are rendering at this kind of the time. So this fish pond, if it measures, and also you have already done which is necessary. And for the people who have fish ponds, and I know my friend from the neighbors here, they have fish ponds already, and it's already occupied with some fish which are called wild fish, and they have to release them to the river to make sure that you're going to be cleaning the fish pond. The cleaning of the fish pond comes in this kind of the way. Fish pond, whenever you drain a whole water from inside the fish pond, and also you should target, you should see the topography of the fish pond. That's where you open the water to get from, because we are advised to have pipes which are called drainage pipes underground, but those drainage pipes cannot do better because these fish ponds are not concreted. And if they're not concreted, we have this kind of the silt soil which is onto the ground level of the fish pond. Whenever this water is coming out, they tend to block this kind of the piping, bringing it to high maintenance each kind of the time. So the best way for us to do is to open water manually, and also drain it out efficiently, and make sure that all the barrows, we can call them barrows, or we can call them some spots of water, and the pallets, water pallets inside the fish pond, you should make sure that they are drained also, because fish, whenever they are doing something something called spawning time, they tend to go to the ground level and do something like holes, which are called some burrows. They create burrows inside. And this kind of the burrows, whenever you drain water, you can find them like craters inside the fish pond. These stuffs, they have to be drained because sometimes they attach small fries, which are born onto this kind of the fish, which is not needed for regeneration, is not needed onto these fish ponds here, which is the good courtesy to come to this kind of the subject. Talking about, after that, you can just use calcium oxide, or you can just use, mostly it's calcium oxide, which is CaH, and you can just use it to make sure that you can sprinkle it around, or you can just talk about sprinkle using the hand. Sometimes it's powdered, and to make sure they're going to be killing all the living creatures that are inside there. Because whenever now you kill all the creatures that are inside there, sprinkle it all around, and now close the drainage area and make sure that water collects or accumulates onto the fish pond. After the accumulation, getting to the middle stage, open it out again and now seal it now to collect now the water for restocking. Because when we talk about the drainage, also quote this kind of the words. When you are draining the fish pond, make sure that it's dry. It starts to dry, and start removing the silt that is alongside the edge. And don't put it at the dikes, because that silt is not strong enough. You can pour it onto the farm because the fish pond is fertilized. And that fertilization of the pond, it means like the fertility is going to the ground for the development of phytoplanktons. These phytoplanktons required onto the fish, they have the effect of making sure that it's like the green bloom or the green turbidity or the water hyacinth or water we can call it water algae. And this kind of the water algae, it has a good nutrients relevant for the growth of plants, whereby because of the fertility, the fish pond was done. And when you take that silt out, you throw it to a farm, or you do a nursery bed or a nursery seed bed, it becomes so vital and very fantastic to your farm. And that's why we have to make sure that the fish pond dries, I repeat, and it should have some cracks. Because whenever the fish pond, it has its own permanent water of the capillarity. And it should, whenever it's coming out from each kind of the section, it creates its own way and gets out through that space that you open the water to come out from. And after that one now, whenever it's crack and dry, remove it to the dike here and collect it and take it to the shamba, or collect it direct to the wheelbarrow, then get it to the shamba. Because the tools and equipment used in the fish pond, a spade should be there, and also a panga machete should be there, a jembe should be there, a wheelbarrow should be there, a weighing scale should be there, a balancing weight should be there. So those are the key, a notebook and a pen, and also a constant brain, which is very vital unto the farm here. So after doing such kind of the things, now make sure that this kind of the fish pond is dried up completely, and after removing all this kind of the silt that is just around the sections, make sure that you are now opening water to come in after putting the calcium oxide to dehydrate the whatever kind, or talk about all kind of the creatures that are inside. They will collapse in terms of suffocation, because it suffocates this kind of the creatures, any kind of an animal that is in. We have frogs, we have tadpoles, we have some more flies, we have some earthworms, we have such kind of different newts that are inside there, different creatures. They should die out of here. After there, really get the water inside, collect water inside. After getting to the middle of the fish pond, talk about the middle or the half of the fish pond, release it again outside, because it should have already collected all the calcium oxide, and you should just dump it out. And one thing that you should understand is this: make sure that you are notifying the people, because whenever you are draining a fish pond, it can bring you to a different module of insecurity, or talk about the pollution of the environment. Number one, when I want to open this kind of the fish pond, I should notify people of this kind of the river. 100, talk about even 10 kilometers from here. I tell them that you're going to be opening water at a certain point, and up to this kind of the moment, this kind of the water going to be passing through this kind of the way. And also sometimes you can inform the NEMA people and tell them like you're going to be opening a fish pond and you're going to be polluting the water, that is the river water. And sometimes they allow you to do it because number one, this fish pond water, it goes out with some fish, which is some fries, some fingerlings, some over fingerlings, which are post fingerlings, and whenever you release them to the river, they create to have that kind of the ecosystem of the river becomes so natural in terms of you are extending the life of it, and also you are depositing some of the fish which are required into the ecosystem of the river, whereby you could have done something better. So they don't discourage you not to do it, but you should identify or tell people you're going to be opening water at this kind of the moment up to this kind of the point, and you should just lock it whenever it reaches there. So that is the necessary thing that you have to understand whenever you get to the fish production. And also after that, after now opening the first session, you get the water into the second session, seal it properly, make sure that you're going to be now coming to the top. Start something called fertilization after 2 weeks of the full of the fish pond, because you're going to be taking a long time to be full. If you are using it's called liners, they need drainage inside. Talk about the inlet and outlet. The inlet, it now depends with how you're going to be doing it. If it's a liner, I'm going to be coming to that section one day, one time, because the liners, they have its own way of getting the fish production with the liners. And I'm talking about the earthen fish pond like the ones I'm having. For this kind of the fish pond to be full, it will take like 1 to 2 weeks for it to be full. And that's a period of time now. After being full, the water will be so clear enough, and some of because of already disinfected the fish pond, some of organisms, they have already died, so the fish pond is fully good. So you should do something called renovation of the fish pond, and also things will now get forward. After there, now look for something called fertilization of the pond. You can use the chime, or you can just use the cow dung, which is green, the fresh one, or you can just use the manure. The manure has 2 effects onto the water. Number one, some qualified manure, which is really, talk about the compost manure, will turn water into green after a longer period of time. But this water will be green. But it's the one that is so recommendable to use in terms of the fish production. Number 2, you can use the cow dung, which is green, and it turns water into green with an immediate effect. After several dumping inside, it will create this kind of the green turbidity, and making sure that the water going to be fertilized so properly. Also, the chime is a proper way to use it because it's green, it's now fresh from the market. The good effect of using the chime, number 1, the chime has 5 good advantages. Number 1, the chime, that kind of the small chime, they are just grass-like structures, and they have not yet passed through the villi for it to be formulated into the colon for it to be feces. So it's already from the stomach direct, it's cut from the stomach. Whenever you bisect a cow, you get the chime from the stomach. So if you dump it here, those kind of the grass stuffs, they're going to be food to the fish, number 1. Number 2, the chime going to be turning water into green, which is the best way for it to be green for its security, in a way like the predators cannot view direct to the fish pond. Number 3, this chime, it has a scent which is not necessary, or it's not lured, or it's not going hand in hand with something called the serpents. Talk about the snakes cannot inhabit your own fish pond because they don't go hand in hand with this kind of the smell from the chime. Number 4, this chime, because already it's a fertilizer. Whenever you fertilize the pond, because it's called a fertility in terms of the fertilization of the pond as a fertilization process, so it will create something called fertility. So it means that even if you take this water and fetch it outside, watering talk about maybe watering the surface, it's one of the best moments to make sure that it's going to be creating or bringing the nutrients relevant for the growth of crops, and also formulating good nutrients that are required for the growth of the crops. The most effect parts of the cow dung and the chime are those one. The manure, number 2 step of manure, because the first thing I'm talking about, it will take long for it to show out like it's now doing the work. And number 2, it will turn water into green, which is it will take such kind of the longer time, not like the green manure. Number 3 of it, sometimes if it's not processed good or it has much of the toxification like the acidity, it will tend to turn water into red. Sometimes you can see a fish pond which is very reddish. Those kind of the cow dung or the manure that you have used, they have acidic value, because this kind of the water, it should be fresh and also it should be in a little bit of alkalinity, which is not passing beyond 8 or 9.3. And if we talk about that one, the acidic that we talk about, you understand acidic plus alkalinity, it has an effect, and that effect is it will bring a green bloom, which is not a green, a red bloom, which is reflecting onto the top of water, which is reddish, which is a little bit toxic to the production of fish, but it's not much toxic to the fish because it will be eaten and it will diffuse with the water to make sure that you're going to be having or creating the best water content for this kind of the fish are lowered. So back to the spot again, talking about after the fertilization, it will take like 2 to 3 or 1 month for the fertilization of the pond. Now the pond has been fertilized after 2 to 3 weeks or 4, or talk about a month. Now the pond, it has now turned into green. This green I'm talking about is the green bloom, the green turbidity, which is the something called the water algae. This water algae, whenever you bring the first spot or the first slot of the fish or the small fries onto their fish pond, they will tend to eat this kind of the green bloom, because the first time you introduce the fish or the small fingerlings onto the fish pond, they don't be fed. You cannot feed them. One thing about it is, number 1, because they have been transported from a far distance, they have stress, mortality rate, and also the hypertension is there. You should make sure that you put them onto water, subject them onto water, let them settle and rest a little bit, and make sure that other things are going to be getting forward. After 2 weeks, they will be eating this kind of the algae or the green bloom. They like it because it has something called a balanced diet, but a low balanced diet in terms of the nutrients relevant or present and to this kind of the body contentation as they are, and they will have a low growth rate because of not boosted with other commercial stuffs that are gonna be getting them with different nutrients that are required. To this kind of the spot I've reached where I'm gonna be getting to the production, talk about from the rate whereby the production of the fish is coming from, and back to the spot and telling you how it is required for you to do so as you can just move forward for this kind of the services. Keep it tuned. I'm gonna be back to you, and this kind of the things you're gonna be learning and understanding them from each and every other time. So next time we're gonna be talking about how the production of or talk about this is we talk about the industry whereby the production of the fries are. Talk about the hatching of the fries from the hatcheries. They use something called testosterone hormone. Methyltestosterone hormone. This kind of the methyltestosterone hormone is used to change a normal fish, which is a female fish, into a male fish, or changing a male fish into a female fish. And it's going to be so awkward, and it's going to be used in terms of the hatcheries and how they do it and how they use it into terms of the production of the small fries that you're going to be stocking onto your finger, or talk about the fish pond, which requires much of the fish which are not wild-like struck or wild-like in terms of the production. And we're going to be coming and tackling why do we buy fish and every kind of the time. When you stock fish in harvesting point, withdraw all of water, drain the fish pond, dry it, and start again. Why is it normal at that kind of the rate? Why can't you continue? Because whenever it reaches at some point, they reproduce. You can get a fish pond, it's now reproduced, and it has so many fingerlings onto the fish pond. And why are they used still in cannot be used in terms of the fish production and to this kind of the zone? I will be giving you much of the reservoirs and also small recaps, because things are going to be coming to you as a fish farmer. I have to understand and also teach much of the people going to be venturing into the fish farm, and also understand what is the best way for them to do and what is the necessary thing for them to understand and also do them fantastically here. So this is part of the program. They're going to be teaching you and also giving you much of the reservoirs. And if it's the first time watching this kind of the video, recommend, and also let it go front, and also subject them to it, get it to other people, subject to other people, so they can learn and get to know the fish production, the aquaculture, which is the blue economy, as the Ministry of Kenya requiring it to be in the blue economy, how it is always driven and how it is always getting forward. I also had that kind of the nature to teach this kind of the things, and also give much of the people good lessons in terms of the production of fish, and also which kind of water pH does water require it to be, so as you can just need for you to stock this kind of the fish. And how should you just understand this kind of the dikes? Are they made from the silt? Are they made from which kind of the soil? And the digging or excavating of the fish pond for the first time, how do you require? Which kind of the space do you require? And how do you, or how much money, the capitation? Talk about the labor that you need in terms of investing to the fish production. Talk about the marketing. Talk about the fish talk about the feeds production, and how you're going to be getting this kind of the fish production, and how the best they are, because we have so many companies that are always producing, but with a different rate of FCH, which we need in terms of the production. Everything going to be coming to you in one-on-one, and I appreciate much of the people watching this kind of the video in this kind of the evening session, because they're best way for us to learn, because sometimes the evening classes and mathematics and physics are always taught in the evening, because people get it nicely, because there's no much of the temperature, because you understand even temperature affects the brain nature, and also moisture affects the brain terminology, and also talk about the atmosphere also depend in terms of somebody or a student to get something here. So this kind of the evening, you're going to be getting so many things that are going to be stuck into your head, and also understand how the production is. So tomorrow going to be coming, and if you're going to be supporting Gintu, support Gintu, so you can just put this kind of the fence tomorrow, pay a little bit of it, and it's just some of the labor or something else. If you're going to be touched, and it's not an emphasis, it's just a request for the person think about going to also support Gintu. We have been supporting so many people outside there, and also Gintu has to do his own things also, so it can just move on and on and on. People also ask about the house that I just showed out yesterday. It's for my brother that I'm just helping in terms of the construction, and I'm just the project manager to make sure they're going to be filming also to understand how the things are going to be coming. So many people commenting and talking about it doesn't make sense in terms of the bedroom and much more. But also my sister, it's about the time also, and she's going to be getting to that kind of the point, so I can just also have the best of the houses going to be coming. Support my sister Kate Sigano, subscribe, like, share, comment, and groove with him or her into the best way for the frontier here. For the people representing Jamaica, we are sorry for the people who got that tragedy, and we pray for you every kind of the time. As I end up this kind of the video, I say goodbye and kudos. Hello internet, back to you to the studio.